Vanilla chocolate ice. Your afro, Latin drink. Loving all this cream. Pants busting at the seam. You always got an attitude. You never in the fucking mood. You won't wear nobody's shoes. See, I've been washed up in the mad. What's going on, everybody? I'm back doing another video. Today I'm going to be sharing the interviewers, 23-year-old Leah Henry, who interviewed Stevie Jake like a week ago, I guess, maybe. She's sharing her feedback. She titled her video "Let's Address the Mess," and she's addressing her side of the viral Stevie J interview. And if you didn't check out my video, you can find it on my YouTube channel, in my list of videos, or my playlist. I also did another video with the Nicki Minaj Joe Budden interview as well. Now, let's get into this video, right? Because she's expressing herself. I want to hear what I was waiting for this because I wanted to hear what her response was. I listened to it. I cheated. I listened to a little bit of the interview, then I stopped because I said I want to hear it for the first time in the video. So
if you are a listener of our podcast, you know that this is usually co-hosted with my friend Candace Dillard Bassett. But today, I'm sure if you don't know, or there's a reason you are here, you probably know that there's something that I wanted to address. And it doesn't have anything to do with Candace, so I felt like it was important for me to talk about this. But this was the platform I wanted to do it. I didn't want constraints. I didn't want live comments. I didn't want a bunch of clouded energy for me to express what has taken place. I think it was very apparent that Stevie J was doing some extracurricular activities while I was doing my interview. And
right, so yeah, I feel like she's watering it down for the sake of I don't know who, but I feel like she's extracurricular activities is an understatement. Again, the man was engaged in sexual relations, taking a piss with no clothes on while talking to you and attempting to expose his body to you on like live air. So I mean, I feel like there's a lot of watering down. I don't know why. I just at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. But watering down that situation, it's just very passive, very accepting, and let's keep going.
I think there's a lot of factors that people don't understand, a lot of things that took place that kind of led to the video, and everyone had an opinion about it, but they weren't too sure about what took place. And so I wanted to just come on my own platform and honestly explain what took place, because
we saw what took place. I think that she's gonna probably explain some behind the scenes things that I had mentioned in my feedback, like we don't know the commitments and all that behind it. So I think she does go over that, but it's like I think what we saw more than enough. We saw that you completed the interview. We saw that you completed the interview and laughed a lot of the time. It's just, I just share most of the interview in my video if you didn't see it, and it's also on her platform. Let's keep going.
I was overwhelmed. I'll be honest. I was overwhelmed. I didn't think that when I posted this interview, the way that the narrative spinned on me, or it being somehow my fault of his actions turned on me, would be a conclusion of where this went. So,
well, the reason why I felt like I didn't blame her for it, I didn't say it was her fault. I didn't use those words, but I said you didn't do anything to end it. You didn't stop it. You didn't disconnect. You didn't even like put I don't want to use the word threat, but maybe like a warning, nothing, and it was just like, hello, you can't do this. You don't have to lower the bar for yourself for a reality. I'm not even going to say for a reality TV show star, because you don't have to do it for nobody, right? You shouldn't have to do it for anybody. But we're talking about Stevie J here.
I just felt the need to kind of tell everybody my truth, which in fact is the truth. They always say there's multiple sides of a story, her truth, his truth, and the truth. But to be honest, this is where I sit with what I did, and I stand on what happened. So let me kind of take you through the story that day. So that was on a Friday. He has an uncensored special that aired on TV1, and I was asked by PR to interview him for it. There was a press schedule. There was multiple outlets that he was talking to that day, and so from what I understand, most of them were phoners, but I had asked for a visual interview because I like to connect with who I'm talking to. So I had asked, and it was scheduled for around 12:50 standard. You set it up, you send the Zoom link.
She just made a valid point. With Zoom, I believe you have the option to turn off your camera and still speak, right? So with all these options available, like I get what you're saying. Like you want to see the person. I get it. You want it to be as realistic as possible. But once you saw what was going on, there were so many options and there were so many lanes you could have taken. And you chose the lane to just kind of laugh through it. And it's just like, we could have said, let's turn the camera off and let's just conduct the interview like that, because that was an option. That would have been an option. I still believe that she was accepting of this, and she knew, the amount of followers it would bring. She knew the amount of attention it would get. I don't believe her when she said she didn't know she was going to get backlash towards her. I just, really? Well, let's keep going.
And everything was good to go. So the day of, at 12:50, I sign on to my Zoom, and the PR person meets me and says, hey, listen, something happened in the previous interview with Stevie. He's going to need a minute. I said, okay. Well, with that being said, is there anything that I shouldn't ask? And after my infamous Matthew Knowles incident, I always ask what I shouldn't ask, because I still think that you can do a good interview without making people feel uncomfortable. So, they said, hey, listen, it was about Faith Evans, and, you can ask, but if he pushes back, relax on it. I said, no problem. I don't even plan to even ask him anything as it pertains to her until the end. So we'll get through a whole good interview about the Uncensored special before we get to this space. And so it hit about maybe 5-7 minutes after the start time was initially supposed to go through, and the PR called him, and he was like, I'm coming. And so she was like, can we do 1:00? He says, yeah, sure. Hangs up the phone. So we sit there till about 1:00, and I'm on Zoom. I usually don't do most of my interviews on Zoom because I don't have the unlimited Zoom. So I was, at a certain point, I started to kind of look at the clock, like, okay, if he's not going to be here by said time, I'm just going to, make a new link. Which, here's the thing about artists, if you don't make it as easy as you can for them, the likelihood of them doing something goes down drastically. Okay, he obviously already had a hard interview prior to me, so I wasn't trying to get to the point where we had to send him another link, he get confused, and him not show up. So, the PR person calls again, he doesn't answer. So I said, hey, listen, if he needs a moment, I got until 2:00. We can wait a second, give him a little time. And so the person was like, let's just wait and see, what happens. So we wait maybe another 5 minutes, calls again, he answers. He was like, I'm about to get on the link. And I said, okay, well, tell him just go, because I created a new Zoom link. She was like, hey, let's do it on the other one. He hangs up and jumps on the Zoom. So I'm like, don't worry about it. So at this point, in my mind, as a journalist, Leah, you have a limited amount of time. You have a small window, because honestly, you're going to run out of time because this Zoom is timed and you don't have unlimited. So you need to get in here, make this man feel comfortable, so then you can ask him the questions that you really want to ask him.
I think there's way too much, just like I think that it's important to not walk on eggshells around celebrities. I feel like when you're doing that, you're catering to them, even if their behavior is disrespectful. In this particular scenario, it was very disrespectful. I understand celebrities and how they are, but it's like, at the end of the day, this man degraded him degraded himself, his people who know him, the whole circle, the whole damn world is appalled. The black community, the fucking, like, everybody's like, what the fuck, you know? So she's taking a lot of ownership over it, and I feel like a lot of it needs to be placed on the gentleman that did it. You know what I mean? Not on her. It's like she's taking a lot of accountability for what happened. I feel like there's so much remorse, so much, you know, just laxness. I don't know if that's the word, but she's very lax about it. Again, some people will say this is professional. Like I said in my video, there's different levels of professionalism. You don't always have to be passive to be, you know, or tolerant. It's like, it's actually she's being very tolerant, and it has a sense of a, like, I it's not, you know, not the nicest word, and I hate to use this word to describe an energy, but it's kind of like a desperate energy, you know, like, I really need this really bad, and I'm willing to do anything for it. And it's just like, wow, you know, like, she compromised herself. I feel like she compromised herself. She put herself in a position where she was compromised and vulnerable. You know what I'm saying? Like, only goodness knows if where her career is going to go after this. I mean, I hope that her career goes exactly where she wants it to go, but this is like, so, it's such a dirty stain. You know what I mean? She carries herself so well. It's like, why this option, you know?
So, you know, he hops on the Zoom immediately. Obviously, I see that his shirt is off. Obviously, I see that he's in his bed. But here's my thing. You're on a press tour. If you coming to the press tour shirtless and in your bed is how you want to put your best foot forward for a television special that's promoting your life story, that's on you. That has nothing to do with me. That didn't immediately make me uncomfortable. I'll be honest. I just kind of thought it's Stevie J. He is always known for being scandalous and being out there and doing him. So I didn't take any offense to him being shirtless and or in his bed. Now, before we even started to record, Stevie was talking to somebody in the background. So it was very clear from the beginning that he was distracted by whoever was in the room with him. Again, in my mind, I get into a zone. I would compare me doing interviews similar to how a professional basketball player is at the free throw line, but the whole stadium is booing. You have to have a certain level of concentration to do your craft at a high level. And so for me, the people in the background, him being in the bed, him being shirtless, was not the point. It was, Leah, get the questions that you need to get answered, because your Zoom's going to start ticking down, and then you're just going to lose them. This will be a missed opportunity for you. And I think one thing...
See, that right there. She's looking at this as a missed opportunity. And I feel like that mentality can hinder you. As any type of professional in any industry, I could almost promise this girl, if she didn't do this interview, she would, her way up may have taken a little longer. She might have to, you know, taken a different route. I don't know how long she's been doing this, but I could almost guarantee that she didn't need this interview. And this, you know, I feel like it's again that desperate energy, like, I really need this. And I feel like he knows that shit. He knows it. You know what I mean? And do you think he would have did this on a network? Like, if he was to be on a network like ABC or even BET or something like that. When I saw briefly his Uncensored, I think it was on BET. He was fully clothed, sitting up straight, right? So why not the same thing for a smaller platform? Why?
I want to make very clear that I think people don't realize I take my job so serious. If you watched any of my interviews, you know that I take hours upon hours to research each person that I talk to. And so it's important to me not to waste my time, because if Stevie J decided to not answer the phone, that was hours of my time that I don't get back. I don't get compensated for. I was sitting there preparing for my interview. So for me, when he got on the Zoom, it wasn't about what was going on in the background. It was about that moment. It was about what I needed to do to get the interview done and not waste all of our times.
And I think all of us can see that. I definitely see that it was a do or die thing. It was like, I put so much into this, and, you know, who knows how long she's waited for this moment. Maybe Stevie J is one of the biggest celebrities that she's ever interviewed. I don't know how she views this man, but I hope she views him a little bit differently now. She got some new views of him, and I mean, she still seems to have the utmost respect for him too.
So again, when he got on, I asked, "Hey Stevie, are you ready to record?" I think that's a very important part to add to this. I asked for his consent to record before we started this. He knew he was being recorded. He knew that this was an interview. I asked him to record. He said he was ready. I clicked record, and Stevie, obviously, as you can see, still continued to kind of move around and shift around and talk to the people in, his background. But again, I'm not worried about that. I just need you to concentrate on what I'm asking, and we can move forward.
Ma'am, how can anyone concentrate on what somebody is asking when something like that is happening to them? Just think of it when you're in bed, ladies and gentlemen, right? And something is going on, something sexual, something grown and sexy is going on, okay? Are you in the mood to answer any goddamn questions? Or somebody come in the room and say, excuse me, sir, are you ready for an interview? Hello? No, nobody is ready to do that. It's like she's so over focused on getting her questions answered that she lost sight of everything else. And I think that any professional can't do that. Like, she had to stand back a little bit and say, okay, is this really there was no thinking involved. I think there was a lack of thinking involved. I just need to get my questions in. I just need to get this over with. And I said that in my feedback. Like, it was just like, I just got to get this over with. I'm just holding on because I know that she knew. You cannot sit here and tell me that this girl did not know that this video was going to go viral more than any other video that she probably ever did. But at this price.
So obviously, we start to do the interview. And the whole time we did the interview, he was talking or focused on things in the background. But again, in my mind,
I think that was a priority for him
to make sure that I got through the list of questions that I had. So as the time goes on,
You mean to tell me that in respect to journalism, you're going to compete with somebody performing oral sex on a man that you're interviewing? You really think that you're going to compete with that? You really feel like you need to do that? You really feel like you need to actually do that? I just don't agree with that. I think it's so wrong to lower yourself down to that. This is a fine example of lowering yourself down for a gig or for a job or an opportunity, quote, opportunity. What type of opportunity? What doors is this going to open? I'm looking forward to see what doors this is going to open for her.
He made a comment that obviously, as I watched the video back, was insinuating that he wanted the young lady to come over and do what she was doing to him during the video. And I didn't hear that. If you watch the video back, I was in the middle of the question, as he was getting ready to ask her. So, like, again, I didn't even hear what he said. Honestly, if you watch it, you probably would miss it. I know a lot of people who watched it the first time who didn't even hear it. I didn't hear it, to be 100% honest with you. So until I saw the young lady's hand next to him, and you see in the interview, I said, Stevie, is that a hand?
She said more than that in the interview. She laughed, she chuckled, kind of blushed, kind of like, giggled, and said, Stevie, why am I in bed with you right now? You know what I mean? That type of language says this to a man. I know she's young. She's 23. This is what I've heard from a source online, right? I'm trusting that source. She's young. If I was 23, maybe I would have responded like this. I'm not 23. But I feel like if you're ever in a situation and you listening to this, you don't want to say, why am I in bed with you right now if you're a journalist? You understand? I'm laughing, but at the end of the day, it's like your choice of words are so important. At this point in the interview, when you see a woman's hand and you could just imagine what is going on, right? Your whole stance should change. You need to be at a different position on the basketball court. Like she said, right, I was standing here, I need to move over here now. I don't know much about basketball, but it's time to move, nigga, because this shit ain't working right now.
I had no idea, honestly, the nature of what was taking place. But again, I still wasn't 100% privy. And of course, like I said, there was so much going on in his background anyway. Any external noises I wasn't focused on. I wanted him to answer the questions because the reality of it is as disgusting as what he did to me was, his uncensored was...
Okay, that's the part that I probably stopped at. What he did to her. Again, I said this in the Nicki Minaj video that I just did. The victimization has got to, like, really, what he did to her This is the idea that she has. What he did to me, I'm the victim. When in reality, you had choices at every single moment of that interview and you did not take them because you wanted to get that interview done. You compromised your choices, yourself. Everything else fell under the bus, okay? Done. Because your goal was to be, so he didn't do anything to you that you did not allow. This is common sense for a lot of us, maybe not common sense for all of us. It is, I mean, he was not holding you down. You were not physically constrained. You were in a whole nother, for all I know, a different state. Okay, you could turn off the video. You could ask him to turn the video off. You could. There's so many choices that you have at that point. You did not take them, but you sit here and you say what he did to me, what you allowed him to do to you because you didn't take your other choices. That's what happened. You didn't have to allow that. Like, it's like she allowed it to happen and to call herself a victim. Look what he did to me. Look at me. Woe is me. No. Yes, you got disrespected, but you sat there and got disrespected. Like I said in the video, I didn't see no disconnection of the line. I didn't see, oh, can you turn off the video, please, while we conduct the rest of this interview? That, to me, would have been more professional than anything else that she did.
Really, really good. And I feel like my job is to tell stories. My job is to let people's voices be heard, no matter what their pasts are, no matter what,
No matter if he's getting sucked off. Excuse my language. But I have to say this because I feel like it's a lot of sugarcoating going on, a lot of glazed donuting going on, a lot of dipping in the sugar, sweetness, tartness going on. With sugarcoating nicely, everything's shiny and bright. It's not shiny and bright. It's not nice and sweet. He was getting sexual relations done to him, taking a piss and trying to show you his groin area or whatever else he was doing while talking to you. Can we address what was really happening and take off the rose-colored glasses? It's just that's all I hear is sugarcoating. It's just got a bucket of sugar, sprinkling powdered sugar, organic sugar, all kind of sugar going on. Too much sugar.
What conceptions we have of them, that is my job as a journalist. At your core, you're a storyteller. Whether I'm in Ukraine talking about the war or whether I'm talking to Stevie J about how his mom wasn't in his life and that's why he's a womanizer, it doesn't matter. It's all about the storytelling nature of what it was. And so for me in that moment, after watching his Uncensored, I felt like I learned so much about who he was. And so I wanted to share that with the audience because I felt like if people got to see just a glimpse of what I saw in that video, then maybe their opinions would change about who he was. So anyway, obviously we get to the part where he stands up and he goes to the bathroom, and that's where it's very clear he doesn't have any clothes on. So that was a moment where I started to kind of connect the dots in my head. Now keep in mind that's probably 3/4 of the way through the interview.
For this interview. That's why she did not ask him. That's why she did not turn off the video, because she was probably a bit fearful. Right? She sounds fearful. She sounds a little, like I said, a little desperate energy. Not calling her desperate. I said, there's desperate vibes going on. It's like, real eager, more eager for the interview than everything else. Right? That interview was priority over dignity, respect, pants, non-sexual activities. It was above all that shit. Right? She was like, I don't care if you're swinging out of a fucking airplane right now with your swinging around. I could care less. I just need to get these questions answered. The priorities were a bit off, I think.
And that was the moment where I was like, oh, okay, this is left. This is something different. I wasn't ready for what we're experiencing. And then we get to the end.
So after you saw the hand, and you realized what this man was doing, after his face making, his noises, you still said, let's continue. You see this man is clearly using a bathroom and facing the toilet or whatever the fuck he was doing. I even heard slurping noises in this video. Okay? It's unacceptable behavior. And I think that she should have had more strength and more confidence to say, like I said, I really need this for my career, but this is not how I conduct myself. My time is running out on this video. I want to listen to the rest of it. I'll do it off the air. You know, too much sugar coating, too many rose-colored glasses on her face. She got about 10 pairs on. We need to take at least 5 of them down so we can see what really happened. And, you know, like I said, I really think at the end of the day, she was down with it, and that's it. Like, and I'm not judging her. That's her decision. She has to, she has to live with that. I don't have to live with it, but I honestly think she made a conscious choice to do it. And that's all, folks. Thank you for listening.